I'm so excited to have this opportunity to both meet and speak with Ishan Shivanand. Ishan, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling very well. How are you?
I'm doing really well, thank you. I'm excited to have this opportunity to dig into some of the deeper aspects of yoga and yoga practice. Can you fill me in on a little bit of your history and how and why you are where you are now?
Yes, so my history is very traditional when it comes to yoga practice. I was born in an ashram under the guidance of Avadut Shivanand. He is from the Shiv Yog lineage, and under his tutelage, I didn't just practice yoga, I lived it. The yoga philosophies, the yoga way of living, the yoga way of diet, relationships, and the whole objective of the Shiv Yog parampara is that we are born, we are given this chance so that there can be enlightenment. Shiv Yog means union with the infinite. And to make that union happen, to make that enlightenment happen, we have the practice of yoga. So, for about 20 years, I was in that environment. And then, after reaching a stage, after being um, told that now I'm an Acharya, I'm ready to teach, is when I came out of the ashram and I started helping people around the world to be connected to their inner self through the pathway of yoga.
Amazing. Amazing. I'm guessing your parents also were part of the guiding light that led you toward being in an ashram your entire
So,
childhood?
my father was the main head of the ashram. So, he is Avadut Shivanand.
Aha.
So, I was born under, it was good and it was tough as well because when your father is the headmaster, you are expected to be a very good student.
Yes,
Yes.
I would imagine. I would imagine. Yeah. I'm sure he held you to a fairly strict standard. Can you give us a little insight into what it was like? I mean, I know an entire childhood is a long span of time to condense it into a single anecdote, but is there a story you can share of what it was like being a child in that setting?
If you ask me, it was beautiful because now when my own children are going to Western schools, I find children today are very alienated and isolated, and there is a cookie cutter approach towards education, whereas every child has to edit, alter, and delete parts of his personality to suit the education system. Whereas in an ashram, there was camaraderie, there was a sense of belonging. The teachers were enlightened, they understood you. It was their sole life purpose to be your guide and to help you reach to a certain level. And it's very amazing. It's amazing. That's how I would like to say because today when I see children, and that's how I can tell you because if 20 years ago you would ask me to explain how living in an ashram is, I had no frame of reference to tell you, but today I know because now I work in the Western education system as well, and I try to help children when it comes to their mental health because I'm a mental health researcher. We need an army to help a child. We need psychologists, we need teachers, we need therapists, and still we have a mental health crisis. Still the children are suffering. Whereas in the ashram, the guru is so powerful, so enlightened, at a level because of his own practice of yoga, that he has this compassion and empathy to understand the child, and then he can direct the child based upon his strengths, based upon his attitude, to the best version of what that child can be. Because you need that motivation, you need that joy in the practice. If I just take yoga as discipline and I say, okay, I have to do these many asanas to get enlightened, the person will never be able to practice that yoga, because it is not transactional, it is evolutionary. It is only when you start to derive joy from the practice of meditation and yoga can there be a state of enlightenment. And to reach that state of joy, you must be happy in life, you must be happy in the lessons that you derive. And when my guru looked at me, then he knew that I was different, other than the children. So whereas other children had a certain poetic approach to life, I was a bit more physical in nature. So he looked at those qualities and he made me work hard in those. And that's what I'm hoping, that eventually, if we can learn those lessons from the East and somehow bring this yogic concepts to Western education, then maybe we can even somehow overcome the mental health crisis plaguing the West. It would be really good for the children. Yes.
Yes. Well said. When I was trying to formulate questions prior to our conversation, Ishan, I thought maybe I'm just going to come in right away and ask him what his mission in life is. But I feel like you just said that. You kind of gave me your mission right there. I appreciate that. That's an incredible mission. Uh, what do you see as the greatest challenge to us achieving the vision that you have laid out? If we condense it along the lines of helping to solve mental health crisis in our educational experience growing up here in the West, what do you think is the biggest kind of hurdle right now, or biggest stumbling block, or biggest um, obstacle?
I think more than the obstacle, it is we don't have a head start when it comes to integrative modalities. And a lot of research has to go into it. Um, a lot of understanding has to go into it. So if I talk about research, right now when it comes to mental health, we are using standardized scales which are subjective in nature, so that we find the baseline mental health of an individual. I think even these standardized scales need more research, because in my own personal practice and experience, I've seen that certain cultures perceive stress differently. Certain cultures have a different understanding of anxiety. And again, if we have that cookie cutter approach, it would be very tough, and there can be misdiagnostics. And then if there is a misdiagnostic, there can be um, a misprescription of a therapy which may not be required. And that's why in United States we have this unnecessary over prescription that is leading to further exasperate the mental health crisis. So until and unless we fund research, we motivate universities to look at integrative therapies as well, integrative modality towards mental health care, where we can take the pharmaceutical interventions as a acute model of care. That, let us say we have a very serious case, then we can provide those acute care modalities as well. But when we are looking at long-term care, that is when we have to look at wellness modalities like yoga, meditation, Ayurveda, where we can actually focus upon inner healing, and that can be the chronic care module. The problem occurs when we take the acute care modules and we start to promote them as a chronic care, which is not the case. And that is when there is a severe impact on healthcare economics, because these are not sustainable models of care. And presently the state of politics is such that all these important governmental um, governmental branches do not have that correct funding to keep on pushing such expensive care modalities. And when we look at yoga as a system of care, it is easy, it is scalable, it is low cost to no cost, and it has long term health impacts. But then the trouble that comes is, the bottleneck that comes is, when we go to institutions, they say, show us the data. Show us where in a clinical setting yoga has helped X, Y, Z patients. So if I'm talking about hospice care, where has yoga helped in a hospice setting? Or if I'm talking about cancer rehabilitation, chronic care, um, cancer survivorship programs, so they will say, show us the data, where has yoga helped such and such patients. Then only we are going to invest in such a project and bring it into our systems. And that is where I think the yoga community really has to buck up and start working. And when I'm talking about research, I mean rigorous scientific research with the highest standards. We can't just um, depend upon yoga journals to say that, okay, look, this is what we did as a community. No, we should aim for the top scientific journals, New England Journal, or uh, other top journals. That is where our research should go, and that is where we will be able to make these modalities mainstream. And I think that is what the need of the hour is.
Thank you, Sean. That's a great answer. I love the fact that you're also bringing to the table the idea that maybe the economic challenge is will be solved in the process of making therapies or modalities that actually work. That is fascinating to think about. Perhaps the current therapies and modalities don't work, and that's just a huge burden on the economic side. So that's fascinating to think. And like you said, with yogic technology or yogic approach, it could be done little to no cost. What type of strides have you made? Can you talk a little bit about your research and the research that you've done in cognitive development and the role that understanding cognitive science plays in yoga?
So if we look at yoga, um, the traditional approach to yoga, it is more to do with cognition. Sometimes we confuse yoga. When I talk to a general American going to gym, whose only exposure to yoga is the cardio room in Planet Fitness, they will think yoga has to be a stretching activity where you just have to flex your muscles. They don't understand the mind body connection. And more than that, we are using the body to have a much deeper understanding of our own awareness. And the objective of Hatha Yoga is to raise our consciousness. And the deeper we go into yoga, it is not then the physical aspect, it is the mental aspect that we are focusing upon. So yoga is much more an exercise of the mind than it is exercise of the body. And that is what is said. If we look deeper into the yoga text, if we look at Patanjali Yoga Sutras, there is no yoga exercise in it. It is all philosophy, consciousness. If we look at Hatha Yoga Pradiptika, if we look at the work of Gorakhnath, even if we go back to Abhinav Gupta, when they are talking about yoga, the real practitioners, the philosophers that gave us yoga, it is more about taking a deep dive into consciousness. And that is what I wanted to bring to the table, because what I saw in the West was they have so wholeheartedly accepted the concepts of yoga that have been presented to them and so diligently and with discipline practice them, that I felt if we give them the next level, how beautiful it would be.
Yes.
So in 2020, in January, we were planning to do a research, a proper scientific research, where we took multidisciplinary doctors and we partnered with various universities, and we wanted to see what could be the impact of these traditional yogic modalities, so not asana based, but more meditation based, on a human psyche. And at that time, unfortunately, the COVID era started, which was a blessing in disguise, because suddenly everybody became aware of their mental health. And whereas we were planning for a few hundred participants, we ended up with 10,000 participants
Wow.
around the globe. This is one of the biggest studies on meditation that has ever been done in recent history. And what we found out, and this study was done over a period of years, of 1 year, that we had a very high compliance rate, even though we were not giving any monetary incentive. Many times when we do studies like this, then the participants, you give them some incentive to come back. We were giving no incentive, because we had designed the study for a few hundred participants and we have 10,000. Definitely we don't have the money to give
Mhm.
everybody a $50 Starbucks gift card. So we said, you want to come, you come. And we had almost a 98% compliance rate, which is unheard of. People were getting hooked onto the modalities, and they were getting hooked on the feeling that comes after practicing the modalities. And when the result came in, we studied 4 parameters. We studied stress, anxiety. So we used the GAD-7 scales for anxiety. We studied insomnia, which is extremely important in today's world. Um, a major population group suffers from insomnia, and insomnia is one of the biggest precursors to burnout. And even when we look at substance abuse, because a lot of people who are suffering from substance abuse, they say that, when we have insomnia or when we can't rest, we rely upon the substance as a form of self-medication. So we studied insomnia, we studied depression, and we were studying the quality of life index. And we found in every single aspect that we were studying, there was almost a 70 to 80% change, benefit, positive impact. And everybody was stunned that without a pharmaceutical intervention, how can we get rid of severe insomnia by 80%? And all these are published in peer-reviewed journals. You can just Google Yoga of Immortal Studies, and you will find in the top psychiatric journals, these studies have been published. And even the doctors that I was working with, they were surprised, because they are always looking, because when we think of doctors, they are human beings like us, and a lot of them actually want their patient to succeed in their health journey. And sometimes even these doctors don't know where to point the patients. And they said that they are so very happy that now they can tell their patient that, okay, rather than just saying get rid of your stress, they can show them the way, that okay, these are the modalities, this is the research, explore these modalities. And if you do that, it can really help you. Because when we are thinking of a disease, rarely do we think of the mental cost of the disease. If somebody is diagnosed with cancer, it's not just him that suffers, it's his mental health, his family's mental health, the whole ecosystem, it breaks down. And at that time, if there is no form of resilience training, then the cost of healthcare just keep rising up and up and up. And that is where we have seen that there is great synergy between what we are doing and all these healthcare providers.
Mm. Nice. Amazing. Can you speak a little bit about how when you say resilience training, that made me think right away in relation to the storyline that you said, if a man has cancer, and then we look at the way that this has this profound effect on the entire family, the entire ecosystem, and without resilience training, can you talk a little bit about what you mean regarding resilience training? My first thought when you said that was teaching a way of being able to view suffering as an opportunity for growth. And therefore, if I am diagnosed with cancer and I don't have a solution that's offering a cure for the cancer, that I could still find joy in life, even with the disease, and have a certain mind frame to enable me to get from here to the time of my passing with some still feeling like I have something to offer the world, or I still have something to learn from the world. Because when I've witnessed people that have terminal illness and the type of depression and or journey that that can put someone through, I love hearing that you brought up having resilience as a part of the training. Can you speak a little bit about what your resilience training looks like and or sounds like?
So this is what I saw in my own research. So I was working with these top tech institutes in India. They are known as the CEO factories of the world, because these it's like we have MIT in the US, we have IIT in India, and IIT, if we look at, they have given us CEOs of Google and various top tech companies. Such brilliant minds go there. And a lot of these times the children that are studying there, they suffer from burnout. And it's not just this institute. When we worked with different medical institutes as well that were training children to be doctors, some children behave differently when exposed to a high stress environment, and some react differently. Some can have a positive, in fact, positive uh, reaction to adversity, and some breakdown. And that is where I started to look at the training that was given to me in the ashram as a form of resilience training. Because even if we look at sports, we do certain exercises for injury prevention, because we know that these muscle groups will go towards severe stress. So we have to strengthen these muscle groups so that there's no injury. A boxer will do 1,000 crunches to strengthen his core because he'll be punched so hard on his stomach. And now we know that there are these institutes where children are prone to burnout. There are these situations where we know that there is a high stress environment. What are we doing to help that child? So that is where we started to develop modalities in which we focused on the breath, because the breath has a great impact on the autonomous nervous system. And in yoga, we put so much emphasis on the breath. And we started to teach children how to regulate their breath, how to regulate their mind, how to regulate their emotions. We use various ancient yogic meditation techniques in which we could teach children, because what stress does is it makes you doom prophesize, anxiety. It makes you go from one thought to another thought, to the past, to the present, to the future. And we need these children to stay in the present and focus at the task at hand. And meditation can help you learn that. And we created this whole protocol, and now we are researching upon it as well. Um, and why we called it resilient training was because many times we called it anti-stress yoga or something like that. And a lot of these children who were training to be physicians, nobody wanted to accept that they are stressed. It's like an ego thing. So when we said anti-stress thing, or maybe a cultural thing, I don't know,
Yeah.
nobody came. And the moment we started calling it resilience training, everybody came and said, oh yes, I think I can do with more resilience. Yeah, I think I can be stronger, I can be better. So right now we are imparting our resilience training modules in engineering institutions, in healthcare institutions. We are even helping veterans who have seen combat benefit from such modalities. And the best thing about resilience training is it can be non-theological because it focuses upon concepts, and that is Yog is, it is non-theological. It understands the anatomy and physiology of the body, as well it understands the working of consciousness in ways that it will take hundreds of years for mental health researcher to reach where yoga has reached thousands of years ago. So it's very important that we take that expertise and we start to apply it in different sections of society, especially the vulnerable ones. And I've seen that a lot of people benefit greatly from resilience training, yes.
Nice. Amazing, Ishan. Amazing. What type of, in your own practice, if when you encounter a stressful situation, what is the first thing that you notice? Is it something that, do you feel it in your body? Do you have an automatic kind of default mode that you've trained yourself to go toward very easily? Do you feel like when you're teaching people that are just starting to learn to regulate their own nervous system, that there is, it sounds to me like you treat each person individually, you know, like I'm curious, is there, is there like a cookie cutter or one size fits all entry level technique that you find seems to work really well for the majority?
So basics, yes, a person has to learn the basics. It's like even in the army, there is basic training. Then the specialization happens. The same is with healthcare. There's always the basic training. We can't expect a person to jump in the deep end without knowing how to swim. So the basic things that we teach every single person that can help them. And the crazy thing is, many times just with the basic, a person finds himself where he needs to be. Uh, so imagine that's the beauty of these modalities. So we teach awareness, breath, thought, and emotion. So when it comes to thought, there has to be selective awareness, there has to be direction. So there are various processes that can be used to regulate the thought. There are various processes that can be taught to master the breath. Extremely important, because in yoga we break the breath to purap, rechak, kumbhak, inhalation, retention, exhalation. There should be mastery of all three. Then awareness, awareness of the body, awareness of the emotions. So we teach different processes so a person can not master but at least learn awareness. Because many times when I'll be working with young children, they'll be having lots of anxiety, and something as simple as are you safe? Can you feel where you are right now? Just ground yourself in where you are. Are you safe? Or is your belly full? Are you hungry, or if you're content? Uh, just simple questions grounds them, and they become aware. Okay, yes, I'm well fed, I'm safe, I'm not feeling hot and cold, I'm dressed well. So just that awareness sort of changes their thought and the ability of the mind to latch onto some thought, and then we help bring them back into the present moment. So awareness is very important. And when it comes to emotional regulation, that's when the meditation starts to get deeper, and we have to do an exploration of various emotions through breathwork practices. Is when a person starts to feel that they are much more in control of themselves, because people think anxiety will go away when I will start to control the outer world. And what we don't understand is that rarely we have control on the outer world. We don't have any control on how people react, on how the world is spinning. But what we have a control on is how we react to everything that is around us. And then when we teach people that emotional regulation through certain yogic breathworks is when they start to master that phenomena, and they can be in a state of happiness. Yes.
Nice.
But
Do
then
you,
these are the basics. All this I am saying to you, it's very basic, and sometimes this is the most powerful thing that can be taught to a person. And I see this sometimes when I'm traveling, that somebody goes to the east, picks up one small aspect of this, and then sort of makes it so big, as if that's the best thing since sliced bread. I'm thinking to myself, it's fine, whatever works for what. But then
yeah.
again, if it was as good as sliced bread, then we would not have a mental health crisis. So sometimes, we should not cheapen these ancient approaches towards healthcare, because these are deep divine processes that need to be seen as what they are. And that's what sometimes, I get a bit irritated with the yoga community, that, thousands and thousands of years, and then somebody comes and they've not mastered their ego, and then they say that, okay, if you do this, tweak here a little bit, then that yoga is the best. And I'm sure that enlightened saint is scratching their head, that, like, seriously, we spend lifetimes mastering and giving you this, and rather than understanding what we have given you, you are tweaking it on a physical aspect rather than exploring. And is important, I think.
Yeah, great point. I agree. Recently, I was thinking about how someone had told me his guru in India really didn't want a lot of attention. They wanted to document him, and he just felt like he wanted to not bring a lot of attention to him. And then another point being made that in the West, here in the West or in this culture, this idea of trademarking, and like I have to like lay ownership and claim to it to now stake my claim in the world. And what a very different cultural um like kind of precedent that's set in both of those. Do you feel that we have the potential here in the West to maybe soften up a little bit on our needing to like lay claim, trademark, own, and dominate, and just start to live a little bit and appreciate the simplicity of I can breathe today. I have a mind. I can think, I can communicate. Do you see a little hope for us? Do you obviously you do, because you're working hard at it, but I'm curious
So
what, yeah.
a child sees me on a laptop, coding, creating beautiful software, and then the child takes away the laptop. Yes, he has that laptop, but he doesn't have that beautiful mind with which the softwares can be done. That is the power of the spiritual practice. People who have dedicated their generations, not even lifetime, generations, to mastering a spiritual practice. It's a generation, because the father took the grandfather's work and worked more upon it, and then the son took the father's work. So it's generational. They will continue to have an insight and evolve and ascend. If we just take something, not really understanding it, then in our hands it becomes dead. And then we can trademark it and do what with it? It won't change the world. And that's why you'll see in the West, because of that culture, we have fads. Bullet coffee will come, somebody will go take something from some person in Himalayas and then bring it back. This is it. I am Prometheus and I stole fire. And it's a fad, and then it goes away. And somebody will come and say doing yoga in a hot room is a fad, and it goes away. Whereas in the East, when they hold upon something, it gives you enlightenment. It gives you the aspect to create worlds. It changes the world. We are not making any Buddhas in the West. If we have so much of this, what we claim that we have, when we pick up, things like turmeric or this or that from the East, and then, as I said, it's dead. So that's why we have some benefit, but we are not making Buddhas. And that's where we have to change. We have to look at the practice as a whole. We have to respect that practice. We have to respect where the practice comes from, and we have to approach it with humility. It is only then can that practice really benefit me. If you are thinking that this practice will only make me gold, what is gold? Gold is nothing. Gold today is yours, tomorrow it will be someone else's. Today you have the ability to spend gold. What will you spend it on? You will enjoy it after some time. The same thing will start to feel shackles. Gold is not valuable. Compassion and legacy is valuable. Can you change the human consciousness to a direction where it's not gone before? Yes, right now, the human consciousness is crazy about gold, crazy about Instagram, crazy about self-promotion. So even the person who learns yoga wants to sit on the beach with six-pack abs and show I'm the greatest yogi. But that is not what yoga is about. It's about changing the collective consciousness towards something better. That is what the great Siddhas were able to do. And until and unless the West can't realize this, then they will do what they do with yoga. They'll make a few billions. That's it. But you guys are already good at making billions. You don't need yoga to make billions. You can make billions with software. You can make billions with industry. With yoga, you make something that is priceless. And that is how the world changes. That's what I try to do when I teach in the West also. I want enlightenment, but I want a Buddha in a boardroom. Because we have these old senile people leading companies and economies and countries, and they are leading us to the ground. We need enlightened leaders. Leaders who care more about consciousness, leaders who care more about humanity as a species rather than lining their own pockets. And what do these senile leaders care about? They will die in the next 10 years, giving us a burning world. And then they have shown us that this is the ideal, so that the next young generation will also strive to be like them. And we can change this toxic cycle that has been continuing since World War II. We never healed from the wounds of World War II. And yoga can give us that healing. And we have seen that on a microcosm, people change through yoga. On a macrocosm, with our research, we have seen societies change through yoga. And maybe if we can expand, people like you and me, we can show that countries can change through the practice of yoga, and that can only happen if we have enlightened leaders. And I hope I'm able to do that, because that is what my ancestors did. The great gurus were not sitting in the Himalayas under a banyan tree. You will see when you look at my ancestors, the greatest yogis would sit next to a king, because they knew if the king is an idiot, the empire will burn. So the greatest yogis, they would crawl down from the Himalayas, they would sit with the king, and they would make sure that, hey, your consciousness, if nobody else's consciousness in the empire reaches to it's fine, but your consciousness should be at a high level. And that's my hope from the West, that stop looking at yoga as something with which you can make money. Look at yoga as a tool to enlightenment, and that would be so amazing, no?
Yes, Ishan. Yes. Can I help you?
Oh, you are helping me, sir. You've given me this platform, and you are talking to me, and you are listening to me so kindly. What more can I expect that you have given me such respect of your time?
Well, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Ishan, and I feel like when you want to see peace in the world, would you agree? I'm curious what sort of stories that you grew up with, but I feel like one of the stories I grew up with was this battle between good and evil and a constant push pull back and forth between good and evil. And then I was told good will always win. And I guess then I went through a phase in life where I started to doubt, will good win? And how do I know good's going to win? And so I really just I currently dream the world is going to win. The good is going to win. That we could be living on a planet where we all support each other. And I feel like then there's this element with, say, nature. They'll show you a nature show and they'll say, well, look, the lion is always going to eat the giraffe or the whatever animal the lion hunts. And there will always be, this is just the nature. This is just the nature of reality, competition, so to speak. Uh, and I guess I just still feel like, why couldn't it be collaboration? Do we need to change the entire structure of the natural world from me eating you and you eating somebody? I mean, I know that the eating thing maybe is a little weird for people to think about, but like the hunting thing, the dominance thing, the this power struggle, this crazy ego, this like senility that we're like what you're saying that we're seeing right in front of us every day. It's so like exhausting. Like why can't we just fall in with this like more peaceful way of being? I guess I always grapple with this myself. I feel like it's my life journey too and mission to just somehow little any little piece I can do to try to foster peace. But I agree 100% with you, Ishan. I can't agree with you more. I'm really grateful for everything you're saying, and I'm so grateful to meet somebody who is like really dedicated to wanting to see this through. And I feel like you want to see it in your lifetime, which I really appreciate. Like, but I also appreciate that you're coming from the understanding of the generational nature that's going on. Like, because you kind of corrected yourself when you said like when one lifetime, but not just one lifetime, it's a generational appreciation for wisdom and compassion. So I guess I can see myself in that generational aspect where I'm just a small part of something that might continue on for a certain amount of time that I can't really see the length of time, how long it's going to go. But I guess I'm just curious. I want to see it too. And I wonder what's holding us back. Like, what are we up against here? Like truly, truly up against. Then when I look at like different saints, like say we pick somebody like Jesus, who says like, okay, I died for you and you don't understand why you're killing me. I can see you don't really see reality. And so I give my life as an offering. And then when I look at Shiva culture or in Hinduism or in the India culture, I see this more of a long term like Shiva, like when you reference it on your website when I was reading before in terms of consciousness and this like Shiva as consciousness. That seems like a much longer, broader, expansive, wider window. I guess I know I'm kind of rambling and I don't think I got it to any one specific question, but based off of everything I just said, what did that make you think?
If we go to Jesus and Shiva.
Yeah. Maybe you could tell me like what how do you see
So
Jesus
let
and
me tell you
Shiva? Yes.
similarities.
Yes, please.
Jesus went on the cross for humanity. He took upon himself the burden of humanity. Shiva drank poison that was going to consume humanity. So in both ways, the Supreme Divinity is represented as someone filled with compassion, unlimited, who is ready to take our suffering so that we can find that light. Also, when we look at Jesus and Shiva, Jesus welcomes everyone. There is no good and evil. There is just every single human being has the ability to be saved. Because if we start to say good and evil, good versus evil, who will be the judge? It's these senile old people who will say you are good because you vote for me, and then that guy is bad because they look different or they sound different. And it's so cruel what is happening in the world today, where every few years some culture is made the villain, and then we have to chase those people with pitchforks. And there is no good and evil. Humanity is the only person that is not bound by nature. Lion has to do what a lion has to do. A human child can be taught to do anything. A human child wins a genetic lottery if he is born in a developed society where he can learn and grow to be a doctor. And imagine if that same human child is born in some village in Africa, and even though he has the highest IQ, but he will never have the means. We could have 20 Einsteins today in Rwanda and we will never know, because nobody is giving them the ability to raise their potential. So there is no good and evil. There is failure of society to help the good awaken inside a human being. So when we look at great masters like Christ or Mahadev, Shiva, and we look at how in theology they are presented, in theology everyone is welcome in the house of Mahadev. Doesn't matter who you are. You have potential to be good. And the same is with the teachings of Christ. So there is no difference between a person walking the spiritual path. These differences are created by people of lower consciousness. These differences are created by the one who doesn't know Christ and the one who doesn't know Shiva, because if you know Shiva, then God is God. God has always been God. And it's just as time change, geography change, language change, of course you will call them different names. But it is the same. Imagine you and I fighting that I call water pani and you call water water. And I am saying I am right, you are right, and then water is laughing that I am H2O, and the scientist is blowing us up with nuclear bombs that it's not pani, it's not water, it's H2O. So these are just lower consciousness people who have not come out of the animal brain. So they are just trying to find reasons to fight. But if we actually do research and more educated people look at theology as what theology is, there are more similarities than there are differences. Because till the time you find differences, today you are saying good and evil, but that is where the animal brain will lead us to. It is the animal brain that wants you to be the predator and the other to be the prey. It is the animal brain that is telling you, I am good, that person is evil. And how are they evil? Just because they are different? And until and unless we switch from the animal brain to the human consciousness and from the human consciousness to the God consciousness, then this is going to happen. And that is where education plays a very important role. And that's why you'll see everyone wants to attack the education system. Whomsoever, if an evil tyrant comes into power, then he will want to change history. He will want to change the education system, because He wants to shape the whole world in his image. And the easiest way to shape the next generation in your image is you just, that's what Hitler did with the Hitler youth. You just kill the education system and the human child, whatever you give them, they will think that is the reality. And that is where us as yogis, we are standing as the barrier between the ultimate evil winning, because eventually, no matter what programming you give to the child, there would be some children who would fight against the programming, the rebel. They would say that this is not true, I don't feel, and their bubble will pop. And that is the time when they will seek in a thirst, in a quest, that what is more to life.
Wow.
And if at that time we are not there to show them the way,
Oh, beautiful, Ishan. Yes.
so that's what we have to do. And as we get more and more awakened people, forget good, evil,
Yeah.
awakened people and unawakened people, when we will have more awakened people, then maybe we can start working on little children. And their journey doesn't need to be that hard and painful.
Wow. Thank you. That was very enlightening. I appreciate that. Even when you just now said the child will seek, and oh, maybe that's what we're looking at right now with children having such a hard time. They know they're getting forced through
Indoctrination.
indoctrination, and it's painful, and they're suffering, and they're lashing out. And then all we do is look at them and say, "Oh, here's your disease, and here's your cure." And we're not listening. Or I
Yes.
mean, I want to listen, but I mean, I guess like culturally, we're not listening. So I really understand why you are focused the way you are. I get it. That makes perfect sense. And coming in with the research side, coming in with the strong sense of we need to have the type of science that people listen to. Do you think, though, maybe we're going to even have to go a little beyond that? Because there's still this thing of like you can provide, like bringing the horse to water and that not them won't they won't drink. Like if we provided all the proof in the world, and maybe there's gonna I just wonder if
No,
there's gonna
see,
yeah,
we need scholars, we
yeah,
need faith leaders, we need community leaders, and we need elected officials. It has to be a integrative effort.
yeah,
If we have the scholars and we don't have community leaders, then we won't have the funding to do the research. If we have the community leaders and we don't have the faith leaders, then no matter what we do in science side, the crazy faith leaders will make faith crazier and crazier. On what we are seeing around the world, like there was a time when faith leaders had to be enlightened. Now the crazier you sound, the more uh, likes you get on social media and the more famous you get. So the people who want to be more liked, they make themselves sound crazy and crazy, which makes you think, who's the guy designing these algorithms? Who's who's
yes,
who's rewarding the crazy, not
yeah,
rewarding the wise?
hmm,
And so you find societies are crazier because you are only heard, like you and I are talking so nicely. You think the YouTube gods will promote us the way if we were yelling and swearing at each other? They won't. So we need those faith leaders also enlightened, and finally we can then have the enlightened elected official as well, because tomorrow if you want to do something on a much more broader scale, on a policy level, because we have to heal the society, we have to actually think on every single aspect, we have to promote certain values, promote science, promote good health, promote higher pursuits of consciousness, then of course it has to be an elected official. We can't alienate ourselves as scholars. We can't alienate ourselves as faith leaders. We all good people have to come together, and it has to be like King Arthur's knights on a table, that everybody from their field is coming, and we are working together as a divine community, as a divine congress, to make that change. And that is where I think that challenge would be, that what do we want? Do we want fame, or do we want change? Because sometimes for change you have to work quietly, generationally, to see things happen. And if you want fame, then that is the price you have to pay to sell your soul on the internet.
Wow, Ishan. Yes, I feel up for the challenge. I really do. But I'm so grateful to meet you, and I'm appreciative of how focused you are on achieving your goal. And I feel like even me saying achieving your goal, this is bigger than a goal you or I have. Would you agree? Like this is a do you sometimes feel like the goal of having humanity grow together and support each other toward higher levels of growth is a goal that's beyond just one person? It has to be, right? Like I feel like
But I
consciousness.
believe in the power of one person.
Yeah, right.
Yes, if there are more than one people, it will be nice, but one person, Genghis Khan, one person, what he did, the whole world is still influenced by his decisions. One person, Gandhi, one person, Patanjali, one person, Buddha. It's all one people. We have one people on good sides, and we have one people on the crazy sides. One people have so much strength. And I have great belief, because I am an Acharya by birth. This is my lineage. I'm stuck to it. And Acharya means I'm the guy who has to inspire people. I'm the guy who will never be the protagonist of a story, but he will be, I will be the Gandalf of Lord of the Rings. I am not the Frodo. I will be the Merlin of King Arthur, but I will never be Arthur. So my job will always be to stand behind great people and give them the strength and guidance. And that is what I'm like. That is, I have taken a vow, a promise, what that word is. That is what I will do. And that's why when I meet people, I always see the potential in them. I want to see the potential in them, and I try to inspire them. And my hope is, if I can inspire the right people, enough people, then it takes one grain of rice to tip the scale. So I believe in that.
Yes. I do too, Ishan. I believe in that. Wow. Well, I feel grateful. Thank you so much, Ishan, for sharing your passion and determination to inspire and lead through the inspiration. So I wish you ultimate success. I believe if you're successful, this world is going to be a really sweet place to be born into.
We will try, you and I,
All
in our own ways.
right.
Let's make this world a sweet place to be born into, and thankfully in this life, hopefully, we get enlightened so we are never born again.
Ah,
But
well,
whomsoever else is born, let's make it a sweet deal for them.
I agree. I agree. Oh man, well, I'm so honored to have this opportunity, Sean, and thank you so much. I've been following you since I found you on social media, and I appreciate everything you're saying because you do have good success on social media, but it's very heartwarming to hear that that is not like your intent. I don't get the feeling you're like, okay, I'm doing this so that I can just grow my social media. Your social media is growing because your message is powerful and honest. And I think it's nice to see when those two cooperate together. So, anyway, I know obviously I'm so excited to share this podcast with you, the listener. Thank you so much for joining. And I just think, wow, I feel hope, and I really want to do everything I can to help you in your mission and your journey. So, if there is something that comes up in the future, please keep me in mind for helping to share any information that I can to help further your cause.
Thank you, sir. Well, to all the listeners, if there can be a takeaway, if you are happy to listen and learn and you want to take a deep dive further, the easiest can be I wrote a book, The Practice of Immortality. And in that, I have shared meditation modalities. And if you want to learn the meditation cognitive aspects of yoga, you will find that after each chapter, I have that. So I really recommend, if that is something you would like, you can do that. And if you are of a scientific mindset and if you would like to go through the research papers that we have published, even if you are a yoga practitioner or a yoga teacher and you're always looking for science to back, evidence to back your practice, then I'm very happy that I could do this for the yoga community and show that how yoga based modalities can bring such tangible change in mental health. So you can download my papers, they are free, um, they are public access, peer reviewed journal. Just Google Yoga of Immortals research papers and you'll have all of them. Go through them, study them, and utilize them the next time you have to teach somewhere and people ask, what's the benefit? This research shows the benefits, and I think that is a start. And if you want to find me, then there is social media, yes, but it is run by people. Uh, but you can look at it and see what my events are going to be, and I would love to meet any of you ever if I get an opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you, Ishan. I really appreciate your generosity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure and honor.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful day. Yes.
You too. Thank you.